Verse 9, yet when Michael the archangel was disputing with the devil, as they considered Moses' body, we'll talk about that source in a minute, even he, that is Michael, did not take it upon himself to pronounce a judgment that was blasphemous. Instead, Michael said to the devil, may Lord Jehovah address you. Now, this text here is associated with a writing called the Assumption of Moses. And I have the Latin text and Latin translation by Johannes Trump here, the critical edition. Very good volume. Not easy to get, but unless you really have interest in these ancient texts, it's not necessary. But you can get a copy, probably even online, and look at the translation of the Latin, which is not always entirely reliable in terms of the way it's translated, as you'll see in some places. But we do not have the ending of the Assumption of Moses. The ending has been lost, and our only source for the ending is Jude and a 5th century writer named Gelasius, an ecclesiastical writer in the 5th century who's very accurate when it comes to quotations from the Greek Septuagint, which was likely included a copy of the Assumption of Moses, possibly in Greek. Although some believe it was originally in Aramaic or Hebrew, and then Aramaic, and then Latin. Still, it could have been translated into Greek like many of the other Hebrew Aramaic texts. But the ending has been lost. So Jude, this text in Jude right here, is really our only remaining evidence from the lost ending of the Assumption of Moses. And you can tell, when I've read the whole thing several times, you can tell that they're building up to the point where they're going to discuss Moses' body, just like Jude says, because they even in the text that we do have, discussion is had about how Joshua is like, how are we going to deal with your body, Moses' body, because Moses was from all over the place and very well known, and so they were used to burying their people with their fathers. But Moses was from Egypt, and then, of course, came and freed the Israelites and is now in the wilderness. So where would they bury him? He's about to die. And so this question is definitely being developed. And as the account in Jude states, at some point, it appears that Jah sent Michael the archangel to bury Moses. Some believe it was to take his soul to heaven, but Jude specifically refers to the body as the object of dispute. And some believe that the devil was accusing Moses of being a murderer because of how he killed the Egyptian. Although that could have been something forgiven by Jah in ways that the devil would not have had any basis for making that accusation at this point. Plus, Moses had already died, so he would have been acquitted of that sin. But that's not really what the text says. It's just a later conjecture by some. Basically Jude and Gelasius are our only quotations of the ending of the Assumption of Moses. So, and they both basically confirm this dispute involving Michael and the devil over Moses' body. But you notice here, what we want to take away from this is the fact that Michael the archangel, who eventually resisted the princes of Greece and Persia and threw the devil out of heaven, at this point, when the devil was accusing Moses and trying to gain probably some authority over his body to use it as an idol or an object of some kind, Michael deferred to Jah, because at this point he hadn't been given authority to directly address or to obviously throw Satan out of his presence. So they had to deal with each other in these ways. Very similar. If you look at Zechariah 3:2, you'll see the angel of Jehovah, probably Michael, dealing with the devil in a very similar setting over the high priest Joshua. In Zechariah 3:2, you'll see right there, the devil's trying to stop him from serving as priest. But the angel of Jehovah resists him. And so we have these contests all the time that we just don't see. Even like with what we read in Daniel the other day about the Gabriel and Michael standing with him against the princes of Greece and Persia. So these things are always taking place in ways we simply don't fully recognize or understand, because they're involved with the affairs of the earth far beyond what I think we realize. But in any case, the text here makes it plain that even Michael when dealing with someone like the devil, didn't blaspheme. Instead, now it was easier for Michael, obviously, because he's a perfect spirit son of God. He understands the ways. He's not limited by sin, whereas we sometimes do and say dumb things. He's still our example in this case, so that when we're disputing with somebody, we allow Jehovah to address the person who's being offensive. We just state the truth. We get passionate. Sometimes we want to state things correctly, and sometimes, just like Jesus himself, we address people as the fools they are, right? But he's dealing with the devil here. And this is a spirit being. And so it's not someone that we are even equal to in the sense that we could address him in that way, unless we're expelling him or a demon from someone they're abusing. We have authority for that. But we just can't go contesting the devil over all these different things and then negatively speaking to him like even Michael didn't do. But of course, this is before Christianity. This is before Jesus was given our authority and before we were given authority to bind and loose things on heaven and on earth. So we should never neglect rejecting devilish behavior or openly stating what something is. We don't want to hide the truth. We just want to try to be as respectful as we can, even to wicked spirit beings, because we don't need to go beyond that. We don't need to go beyond reminding them that Jehovah will address you. Once they hear that, they know what's next.